Welcome to After the Letter, our companion conversation following this week's reading of the Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. One of us has spent time preparing and narrating this week's letter, while the other is hearing it for the first time. Together we reflect on the questions Lewis raises and why they continue to resonate today. Our guiding question this week is, what happens when our convictions become more important than our character?
I was a bit surprised that it wasn't about politics and what political position people should take. Whether somebody's a patriot or whether somebody's a pacifist was quite interesting. Being committed to something isn't a bad thing. I don't think there's any criticism about that. But what I heard was when a person kind of picks a cause or a perspective, how much that ends up forming an identity. I don't know whether that's what I mean.
Consuming them?
Yeah, like it's all about that. Topics like global warming, Brexit, COVID, taking a certain stance then becomes all-consuming. And then that just makes me think again of the previous letters. We're putting our attention, are we getting distracted? We can't see the people in front of us. We kind of lose sight of things and we get caught on our own little hamster wheel. Rather than seeing the big picture, we get stuck in the small.
Yeah, everything gets interpreted through one issue.
Yeah.
That's very relevant for our time. It's obviously still going on 80 years later. It was clearly a thing then, and it's still a thing now.
Yeah. I come across people who put forward an aspect of themselves, and then that seems to be their primary identifier. They put that forward. And I have no judgment about that. But what I do wonder but what else are you?
Yes.
There's more to you than this.
Yeah. I've met so many people in this life who seem to literally self-limit themselves.
And I don't think that that's intended. I think maybe that part is felt unseen or uncared for.
Unrecognised.
Or unrecognised, yeah. We've all got an ego. I don't think we can stop being in the world. And we all articulate reasons for the things that we think and why we do the things that we do. But if it all becomes about that and trying to convince others, then what are we running away from? What are we missing? And I got some of that from the letter of, I think you've used this word with me before, proselytize. Write pamphlets and tell people about stuff rather than do those quiet things that...
Centre you?
Yeah, exactly. That's the right word. Yeah.
C.S. Lewis seems to be asking whether we're still able to see people as people or only as supporters and opponents of a particular cause, which clearly is specifically about the polarising nature of becoming deeply immersed in something, which may be a very good thing, but if it sets you up in opposition to somebody else, then that's leading to division.
Yeah. In the letter, it doesn't matter whether somebody ends up being a patriot or a pacifist, it's how extreme they become. In that you lose sight of people. It's been building on previous letters about when the patient's in church and he's looking down on people, or he's with his mum, he's got a perspective but he doesn't necessarily see her. He's not actually of service. Yeah. And I think that it doesn't matter what the issue is. If you stop seeing the human being in front of you, then I suppose in this case, both Screwtape and Wormwood are winning.
Yes, I suppose it's not about caring less, it's about keeping perspective. Not allowing just one part of your identity to become the whole story.
Yeah.
So why do you think this still feels relevant in this day and age? I mean, this was written during the Second World War, and whilst specific events are different, there's the same atmosphere around this.
In all of this, I see duality. There's the patriot or the pacifist. Neither is better than the other. And depending on what's driving those individuals, they may actually have a lot more in common than they think. But it's almost as if they are framed as being opposite. So all of this seems to be about trying to find balance, and that is a universal challenge, I think.
Yeah. Sometimes it feels as though we stop listening because we've already decided which side someone belongs to.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to earlier letters where we're not actually present, we're not actually in the moment, we're not really listening and looking at each other.
Yeah, it's unfortunate when the labels arrive before the conversation does.
Yeah, well, I've recently been having that conversation with people around me as well. Even before people have clapped eyes on each other, there's a certain idea of what's going to happen.
Some people like to push their difference in front of them like a wheelbarrow. Maybe they're used to rejection and they're trying to circumvent what they feel is the inevitable rejection by pushing an identity almost like a shield. And that doesn't help. It doesn't help the person that's doing it, and it doesn't help other people to understand them better.
So for me, I think the Let Out was so rich with stuff. It doesn't directly mirror what you've just said, but that idea of, okay, here is a version. And that version within the letter, when Screwtape's talking about whether we should reveal ourselves or not, and that's not something that we're doing right now, but if we did, there would be some things that we'd be able to do and other things that we wouldn't be able to do. So when we have come forward, we've come forward in a way that looks like a pantomime version. The way to stop them believing in the light, the source, is to show that there can't be that darkness. But you see the pantomime darkness as real darkness, and you can't believe in it if you're a materialist or a skeptic or something.
It's a very good point. The converse of a devil in red tights is an angel wearing a bedsheet and wings.
Yeah. It almost doesn't matter, Wormwood, how you're doing it, because the focus is on just distract them and get them focused on process and get them focused on how somebody presents and how they rationalise what they're doing, rather than them really connecting with their own truth, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
So when you play these letters, does it prompt you to change your behaviour or your perspective in any way, week on week?
Absolutely. Repeating these things over and over has made me think about them much more deeply than I would have otherwise. And I feel as if I am absorbing the information more at a heart-centred level than purely intellectually. So I'm aware of what I need to do. In some respects, I've forgotten more than I remember, but all of the things in the letters seem to be pointing to things which are intrinsically good. And I would like to be a better person.
So I'm going to use your language. I'm heartened that I have stayed curious my whole life, been curious about things. I have been curious about people and I've asked lots of questions. But I think where I'm at now is just before reacting to anything, to take a moment to, again, use the vernacular, to use the language of today, to regulate, to self-regulate, take a breath, and then just be a bit curious about what's happening in front of me. And like, even if my inner knowing knows what's going on, rather than just accept that, the way that I'm trying to be a bit more sceptical and a bit more scientific, as it were, is to just test whether the thing that I think is really what is going on, as far as I can tell. And rather than feel something negative straight away, to acknowledge it and then just let it pass and then try and be curious and in the present moment again. If you have spirit, faith or belief in something bigger than yourself, when things are working in the light, I'm going to use that language because it's meaningful to me, there isn't a sense of anxiety. Like, you might not know what's going to happen, but you steer your course. You've got a certain mindset, you've got a certain belief system, you're going forward with it, but rather than mowing other people down with that conviction, you keep going and you trust quietly, reflectively, to check in on what's motivating you. And I'm saying you, but I think I mean me.
Well, what I understand is the thing to take from this is that if I do find myself in the future becoming absorbed by one issue, I'd like to ask myself, is this helping me see people more clearly or only more selectively?
We're all human, as much as we might like to say different.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of After the Letter. If you haven't yet listened to Letter VII itself, you'll find it in our main playlist. Next week, we'll continue with Letter VIII, where Lewis turns to another fascinating aspect of human experience, the rhythms of change and what they reveal about growth, discouragement, and hope. Until then, we'd love to hear your thoughts. How do we hold strong convictions without allowing them to define everything else about us? Or perhaps another way of asking it is, how can we disagree well without losing our curiosity about one another? Thanks for listening.